Spice FM.
We have a special guest in the building, and I'm excited about today's show. Today we're discussing feminism, Miss Andre, and ideas about ways to achieve equality. And Eric, you want to introduce our guest?
Absolutely. Now, our guest describes herself as a pragmatic person and a realist. She's a writer, a student of political science, and an all-round erudite young Kenyan, in my view. And if I may add, quite a fierce twip. Skofin Aoko Otieno.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's good to see you in person. I've been seeing you.
My reputation precedes.
People are terrified
She's
of you.
a very beautiful woman, by the way. I'd like you to plug into the conversation through our social media handles. And also, that is www.spicefm.co.ke. You will get to see her live.
Absolutely.
Eric unasema these people are terrified.
You know, people are terrified of you. Eh?
Yes, yes.
That is
People,
interesting.
people are either afraid of you or they fear you. Which one do you prefer?
Neither.
Oh my goodness,
Man,
man.
it's dope to have you. here,
It's
man.
good to have you. Please feel most welcome.
The
If
pleasure is
you
mine.
if you've just tuned in and you are a fan of Aoko, tell your friends who are fans too. You know, Aoko, a lot of men have been going on. I was talking to my friend earlier on today, and I said to him that Aoko is coming on the show, and he said, "Wait, what?" So let me beat this traffic then, because my radio in the car is messed so that I got listen. So I'm looking forward to an enthralling conversation. Let's dig right in it.
Yeah.
In an article you penned about a fortnight ago, which you titled, "Ladies, a gentleman is he who purveys his virtues, not Italian suits." All right?
Yeah.
On the article, you argue in part, a gentleman will be ashamed should his deeds not match his words. And then you proceed to tell guys, you could be more of a gentleman than the illusion displayed on billboards or mail publications. You remember that?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Now, in yet another one of your wonderful articles I read, which you penned about 8 days ago on affirmative action,
Yeah.
you wrote in part, and I quote,
Yes.
"Most women do not have the verve, oomph, guts, political acumen, or intellectual rigor to handle politics."
Absolutely.
All right. So you've argued also in some of your writing that feminism is just misandry or contempt for men. Now, what would you say to a woman who's listening today who is arguing that your views are anti-women and goes against the many efforts they've fought to just try and dismantle patriarchy?
Patrick is not a bad thing,
Yeah.
because patriarchy in its most erudite definition in a layman's parlance is just a structure where men are at the top or men are leading. And what is wrong with men leading? Every society that has had men on the top or at the top has succeeded. That does not mean that if a woman is on the top, then a society that cannot succeed. But when you argue about being anti-patriarchy, it's basically saying that men should not be on the top. Why don't you argue that men can be on the top, women can be on the top or at the top?
Very interesting. You know, a lot of women say that there is no equilibrium balance because there is lacking egalitarianism in most organizations. You know about the affirmative action,
Yeah.
you know. But women are not represented and not enough positions are given to women. And also in the hierarchy of a lot of companies, they say they have to fight a lot of obstacles. If you read feminists like, is she a feminist? I don't know for sure. But Sheryl Sandberg on Lean In has a whole lot of advice about how women should lean in and make their voices heard and stop staying back. Do you feel that your message is never quite gotten and it's lost between women who support women's causes and men who think you fight for them? And
Because
what
they
is
call
your
you
message?
the man's president.
I've never disputed or reputed the fact that I accentuate the voices of men.
Yeah.
Yes.
For a very long time, the voice of the man has been lost because of the societal expectations that as a man you're not supposed to speak out, especially when you feel that the issues that you're speaking out against are in tandem with women, because they'll take it as whining. As a man, you're not supposed to whine while you're arguing with women and all that. So I think it sits more with men that a woman is saying things that for a very long time they've wanted to say, they've wanted to purvey out there. Yeah, and issues to do with the things women have fought for. That, in essence, is the fundamental tenets of feminism. And I think it's skewed when women think that feminism is solely about women. Actually, feminism is, or a feminist, somebody who believes in, equal representation in terms of politics, economics, and social angle of both sexes, both men and women. So women lost it when they made it about women. Number two, from where I sit, I think feminism achieved its course and ran its course. Because when you look at feminism, when it started in 1848, Seneca Convention, New York, it was about the suffragettes when they were fighting for the right to vote. And they achieved it. Women right now can vote. When the movement started as an ideology, and in the 1900s all the way to 1960, it became about reproductive health rights. Women achieved it. Right now, a woman cannot tell me. That's why I say if a woman gets a baby and she claims that, that's why I have an issue with so-called, what do we call it? Child, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't want to call it a man being a deadbeat, but I think we are at a point where if a woman decides to get pregnant, then she's doing so willingly. Because in 2020, a woman has full control of her body. She has full control of birth control and contraceptives and all that. And some of these issues, probably when you're talking about the hierarchy in terms of corporates, in terms of politics, let me tell you, no one has ever put a gun on a woman's head to give birth, right? It's a choice, and they enjoy it. And if a woman doesn't have a child most of the times, she's uncomfortable. Women want babies, women want families, and sometimes even in the corporate world like this and farm like this, you find that probably a woman takes time off to go have babies. And those 9 months that you're having, you're pregnant, and probably those 3 months that you're in maternity, a man is productive at the workplace. And when it comes to probably you're looking at, now you want a CEO, you want a manager, and you're looking at skills, you're looking at productivity. All these 3 months, this man was putting his skills into practice. You were nursing a baby, and no one forced you to nurse a baby. It's a choice. And of course, when the man has built his skills all this while you're making babies, the man is going to be a CEO and a manager. Why are you blaming men for that?
Aoko, when did you start voicing, or what triggered you to start voicing for the man, or for the boy child, as they call you?
I say that at the surface, it looks like that I'm speaking for the man. And like I've said, I'm not going to sit here and refute that. But I always say that if people were a little less simplistic, especially women, and they dig deeper into the kind of message that I churn out there, actually it's them that I'm trying to empower. Not only to empower, I'm trying to, they're very complacent, in their mind, and they're like a bicycle in their thinking. And this issue of blaming men for everything that goes wrong with their lives is what I'm trying to deconstruct out there.
I'm not very deep in regard to the conversation around feminism. It has a lot of terminologies which sometimes a lay person would be like, hey, what does that mean and what does this mean? But I had in a previous show that you're doing where you talked about a gender feminist and an equity feminist. Can you just simply describe to us what that means?
Gender feminists are basically these dullards who blame men for everything that is wrong with their lives, And equity feminists, and there are very few, and the line is so blurred that basically, as we speak, there's a very thin line between feminism and misandry. There are very few equity feminists, and from where I sit, I'll just call them gender activists. Feminists are pseudo-activists with nada comprehension of the things they talk about. A typical feminist, especially in the Kenyan parlance, ask them even when feminism began, what feminism is all about. They have neither modicum of an idea of what's all about, how it started, and the core fundamental tenets of what feminism was all about. So equity is basically realizing that as a man and as a woman, we have different needs. You don't have the kind of needs that I have as a woman. I do not have your kind of needs. So we tailor opportunities towards what I need and towards what you need. And then gender feminists basically are the ones who push for equality. Equality is utopia. There's nothing like equality. We can never be equal.
We can
Yeah,
never.
how? We are not equal in our anatomy. We are not equal in our aptitudes. Men and women are not equal. So what we should angle for is equity, especially equity of opportunities. Yeah.
So mainly in your message, what you're against is like you speak mainly against the people who are like gender feminists.
Yes.
Like that's the
like
area,
activists?
because equity feminists, it seems like that's all right.
And what I fight for, especially in the Kenyan context, do we have equity feminists in Kenya? Give me one name.
Aoko. Because you say you are.
Least I've never identified myself as a feminist, and I won't identify. If I was living in the late 19th and early 20th century when the ideology began, I would consider myself a feminist because it was built on core ideals. You know, they were fighting for things that were real and pragmatic and poignant. But right now, the so-called feminists are just, as I always say, right to urinate while standing like men.
Aoko, hold that thought. We're going to dig more into that when we come back. This is 94.4 Spice FM. We're hanging out with Aoko right here in the studio, Aoko Otieno, and we're having conversation around feminism, misandry, and ideas about ways to achieve equality. And it's just begun. The conversation is going to get even warmer as we go along. This is 94.4 Spice FM. We are the adults in the room, and I'm in studio with the usual suspects, Eric and Barbara, the Duchess. My name is Emmanuel, and today we have a special guest in the building, Aoko Otieno, and we're discussing feminism et al. And the conversation is just getting warmer. Remember, if you have something to say, if you have a question, if you have a comment, use that hashtag AdultsKE right there on Twitter, or just go to run to Facebook. And if you have something burning that you want to say, please feel free just to say something. Has anything started coming through, Barbara?
Yes, we have. Red Kidake says in Kenya we have strong come to prioritize the girl child, and the boy child is somehow neglected. And then Simon Villa says, I have never or refuted, meaning anakubaliana na president wa boy child.
Anakubali kila kitu.
Anakubali kila kitu.
You know, if you're joining us, karibu sana. We have in the studio Aoko Otieno, who is, very smart in my view. And she's a political, rather student of political science and a writer herself. And what she's come to do is to shed some light on feminism, what sometimes she says conflates with misandry. And we were just also trying to talk about ideas about whether we'll ever achieve equality. She just thinks it's a bastard idea. We cannot ever achieve equality. But that's the conversation we're having. And we value your feedback. If you have any questions at all, remember we are on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And you also have the short code at 40127, where you can just shoot your messages direct to Aoko or to any of us, and we'll read them as we go along. Aoko, you've shared that women front themselves as feminists, purveyors of misandry, and that they possess a victim mentality which hinders gender equality. Earlier, as I was telling you, I was talking to a friend of mine. He was complaining to me, every time you talk about feminism, men get triggered, all right? Because of many causes. Either they read something that some woman wrote online that really upset them. So my friend was trying to argue and say, initially I used to just be okay with that sort of feminism, but now that it's come to the houses where I have to now wake up and we divide chores in the middle, and also she can wear pants, I don't agree with that sort of feminism. So this victim mentality, what does it look like in your mind and from what you see online?
Actually, victim mentality, like I have elucidated, that it's whereby women feel that they're being downtrodden upon by men.
Yeah.
And this phantom, this edifice that they call patriarchy, and make it seem like it's a monster. I often opine that if it wasn't for patriarchy, humanity will still be hunters and gatherers. Yeah, it's thanks to men. The very first inventors and innovators were men. The very first architect who designed the Pharaoh pyramid was a man. And even it was a man who invented the vacuum machine that has made it easier for women to clean. So patriarchy is not a bad thing. If anything, patriarchy has even made work easier for women. And societies that lifted men and allowed men to be men thrived. And there was some modicum of order and equilibrium in the society. Yes, and victim mentality is basically, of course, there's no downplaying, and I cannot cast aspersions over the fact that women have bottlenecks that is facing them. But at the same time, this conversation is incomplete and skewed, and it's starved of logic if we deny the fact that men have bottlenecks that is facing them. And that is where Aoko comes. Everyone is talking about the issues that is facing women. Yes, they have their issues. Who is talking about the issues that is facing men, Eric? When you look at the street families, the chokoras, go out here today, 90% of the street families are men, right? It's the men who go to war and die in war. If you look at their security forces, they are made up of, majority of them are men who are out here patrolling in the cold, risking their lives, protecting women and children. When you look at those who do hard labor, it's men. So how is it that, they make it seem like the society has favored men so much, and the women are now out here suffering and in the cold, and that is not true. Women in 2020 have opportunities just like men. Going to any master's or PhD class in any tertiary institution in Kenya today, you'll find that the number of women outweigh men, because women have opportunities in 2020 to go to school. What do they do when they go to campus? They are there, looking for all the wrinkle shelves to shove in their mouths for money to buy Peruvian weaves. And you go probably pick something like nutrition, and a man has picked engineering. You go there and pick something like beauty. You go there and pick something. Some of these lousy courses that women go for because they are afraid to think. Yeah, they find it tedious to think, and then men go for these STEM courses, and then when they come out, men get jobs that have money, and their wage bill go up, and then you start screaming and screeching about wage bill, and you rope in some of these, women who barely cannot think, and then now some woman, because their tutor is verified, comes and tells you, gives you some fact that you cannot interrogate. The wage bill, look at these men have done this to us, and then you go there, and because one man broke your heart, and you are a baby mama to some fool, now you start claiming men are bad. It doesn't work that way.
So when did the train get off the course? Because you talked about in a video that I saw just when you were telling guys to tune in, that you said that the current wave has run its course. Something.
Yeah, feminism has run its course.
And just when you began right there, just giving us the history. When do you think this happened? Like, when do you think it now derailed into something different?
When women became so empowered, and it started when these empowering women, and of course empowering women is a very pertinent thing, and women become empowered, and it's like, when something has come and it has achieved its purpose, then at some point it becomes misused and abused. Women have been empowered to the point that now they think they are men, or they are equal to men. And that's not it. It's in no way insinuating, even remotely, that women are inferior creatures to men. No, I'm just saying, let men be men. Do not compete with men. And women have lots of, intrinsic abilities in them that make them unique. Why don't we embrace our uniqueness, these inherent features in us that make us unique, our nurturing abilities, our abilities to multitask and all this, and even our differences in our aptitude to just be women and thrive without this competing, and blaming men for the fact that most of us have never known where our Jeep spot is, and so it's men's fault.
I like that bit because on Fridays we talk about sex, but because the president is here, today we can make exceptions. I like what you've said about blaming men. Women have often called this show, mostly when we are discussing sex, and they say, and we have a good lady here who's my co-host, and they say that one of the things, the main failing is even to try and help them achieve the big O. Sasa imekuwa utalipa rent Aoko, alafu upeleke watoto school fees, ununue nyama, nyanya, mboga, na hata kitunguu na dania, alafu tena mkono zako zigande, umejitumia na talent yako ile Mungu alikupea, lakini hiyo haijatosha. So they are saying now, mkono zigande so that you achieve the big goal. Is that a role of a man in your view? I know I'm digressing.
Yes, but answer that then.
I'm digressing a bit, but I think president anaweza tusaidia.
Hapo mnataka president wa please.
This thing is 50-50. We have to meet each other somewhere, and actually, it's not a man's fault that you do not know your body. It's your role. The onus is on you as a woman to just even sit in front of the mirror and get to know your body and touch yourself and explore yourself and guide that man. You probably know the places that ukishikwa utasikia. So no man should kill himself trying to get a woman to cloud nine. And sometimes some of these women just don't try. You go to bed and you're sweaty and you have that weave that is 4 months old, and you just lie there like a mannequin, and man, no soundtrack to that movie. That man is like tilling a land.
But
don't kill yourself.
Amefurahi sana leo.
I hope she's tuned in. Tune in. Now switch your dial. Barbara, you had a question just before we jump onto a break.
I'm saying we're about to go for a break, but let me just ask. You talked about ladies, the ladies who were doing courses that may seem inferior, like the beauty, the nutrition, while men are doing engineering. And you also talked about diversity. Wouldn't you think that the same way we have diversity in men, we also have ladies that will take up engineering and vice versa? Why do people feel like sometimes it's like you hit them so hard with those particular sentiments, yet we have also ladies who thrive in other courses?
Actually, I'm not hitting anybody hard. I'm churning out raw facts, and facts don't give a damn about feelings. That's number one. Number two, it's women who go for these courses. And of course, there's that aspect that men in their aptitude are wired to be very good at systematizing. That's why they thrive in STEM courses. And women are good at courses that gel more with empathy. That's why you find women go for these nursing courses and beauty, things that touch and care for people and all that. That's one aspect. The second aspect is that women find it tedious to think.
For you, it's them they don't think.
That's the second fact. That's the first fact. The second fact is most women find it tedious. They want things that will not keep them at 2 a.m. reading. Iyo 2 a.m. afadhali akuwe anaangalia Instagram ya that lousy blogger going for gossip instead of reading and just trying to go for that course that will need you to dig into your mind.
My name is Emmanuel. I'm hanging out with Eric and Barbara, and today we have a special guest who's made time to be with us all the way till 10. Can you imagine? And we're having a discussion around feminism, misandry, and ideas about ways to achieve equality. And you are in the middle of something. Like there was Barbara, you'd asked the question. Maybe you can reintroduce it, and then we're going to get back
was
into
explaining something.
Yes. But let's go straight ahead.
I was asking, you
Yes.
spoke earlier about ladies who actually take very light courses, something to do with nursing, beauty, nutrition, and men take more of engineering. And I was saying we also have women who do the same and men vice versa. Don't you think it will be stamping them too hard when you say that, hey, they're taking nurturing courses and that's why they behave in a certain manner?
No, actually, I was just stating a fact. I am not monolithic, or I'm not in my reasoning, or I'm not pushing or shoving anything down anyone's throat. I'm just stating, for example, that you have a grey dress.
Yes.
That does not mean in any way that I'm saying you should be in a suit like Aoko. I'm just
Yes.
stating a fact that you're in a grey dress. So logically, and it has been scientifically proven that men and women and anyone out there can go and do their research and read that we are different in our aptitudes, and that's why men tend to thrive in STEM courses. And even if you look at the facts and figures, you've seen even the government and NGOs pushing for women to go for some of these STEM courses, because facts and figures out there show that either they do not go for these courses, or when they go, they tend to drop out because it overwhelms their mental plate, right? That is one fact. Indisputable. That is number one. Number two, it's also factual and logical, and it's not the sentiments of Aoko. Research can be done there that most women tend to go for these courses that will not into their intellectual rigor. You know, that will not keep you at 2 a.m. with the book studying and researching. They go for courses that, you know, you go into a lecture, and once the lecture is done, you cover your book and you wait for 2 days to exam and you read. There are some courses you cannot dare do that. You'll repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. Yeah, and because they want to spend their hours sex chatting and doing all these and going after sponsors to fly them to Diani. You cannot juggle some of these courses with that kind of lifestyle that you see these young women purveying in campus today.
In fact, speaking of lifestyle, and one of the things that I love is it seems like you're a lone voice in regards to some of these things, and that's why I think many, even men, gravitate towards you because you say some of the things, if, say, I say, it would be a terrible problem. Like, for example, like right now it's become really tough just to be a brother, especially in this city, Erica. You call a lady with the best of intentions, and the first thing that she asks you for is maybe, like send me a cab to come and, and see me where I am. Like the first thing that you get in your interaction, and your interaction is honest.
Yeah.
Like my intention is honest, but the first reaction you get from some of these ladies is, unatoanishwa. Like they demand something from you, and that something is financial. Either they want you to send money for you to get them over to where you are, or they want you to pay for some serious shopping, which they have, and you hardly know the person. You're like, I've only known you for 2 weeks. Now I'm paying for your shopping. So don't you think, do you think that is one of the effects of maybe this misunderstanding of what feminism truly is?
Is that even feminism?
That's it. Because like I mentioned, the line is so blurred, and the so-called feminists, especially in the Kenyan context, basically women who use their platforms to tell young women, for instance, that do not accept a date with a man who will take you to Njugunas. And you're telling a young woman barely out of college or in college, relying on pocket money to set standard there. Aren't you objectifying this woman? You're making this young woman a commodity available to the highest bidder. That if a man cannot afford this, if a man cannot afford to do this to you, then you cannot interact in a honest manner in whatever perspective, whether you're talking about just being friends or you're talking about a sexual relationship, then these fake standards have made women to be objectified And so these are some of the issues I tend to seek. It's only that I do not treat them with kid glove like some of these feminists treat them. And if anything, I think Aoko is the only woman who is truly empowering young women in Kenya today. My models might be different, but actually it's very genuine and it's very pragmatic. And actually it's getting them out of their bubbles, because I often say that as women, we tend to be emotional hemophiliacs. At the slightest provocation, we bleed emotionally. And we are destitute of logic and insight. We do not want to reason poignantly and deeply and in a paramount manner, you see. And that is why you do an article, and instead of just interrogating the facts and the logic and the insight behind this one, they'll just, you're insulting women and all this and all that. And at the end of the day, I'm telling you that as a woman, you have the wherewithal to be more than just something there that waits for a man to even provide something like fare. And some of these women who probably ask for fare, when you look at their social media bios, most of them actually, is it not more than 3/4 of the so-called independent women went to UON? So UON, Miss Independent, boss lady, and you're a beggar. You're a beggar who cannot show up at a date without a man sending Uber money, and you call yourself independent. And what a man can do, a woman can do better. What? Can you pee with your legs tied together? You cannot. You'll pee all over yourself.
So what? Okay, Eric, you can dive into it.
No, it's very interesting you say this, Aoko. In an ideal world, in Aoko's world, perhaps, what does romance look like? Do you believe in, say, going Dutch and things like that, maybe?
Pardon me, going Dutch means?
We share the bills.
Like we share the bills. Maybe.
Like he asks you out, for example,
Yes.
and for a date, he'll pay half, you pay half.
The rule of the thumb is if the person who asks for a date pays for the date. That's the rule of the thumb. Yes.
Can you clap for her?
Yes.
This is the first thing
Yes.
any woman, I think, is going to agree with you.
That's number one. If a woman asks, and I think
Rick, now you
gentlemen
believe
are
me, your
suffering
president has
because
said.
most of the time they're the ones who ask for these dates. But I also feel that a woman, at least the little you can do is provide for your transport to that venue. If a man offers, like, can you come, you'll take a Uber, I'll pay, fine. Out of chivalry, out of the goodness of his heart. But don't put like it's demands that you have to take these Uber, I cannot come to this place, we have to go to this place. If it's a fairly decent place, why not? And I say, as a woman, if you cannot take yourself to a date at the kind of places you expect men to take you to, and just order with your money out of your own pocket, then you are a poorly raised tart. If you expect that from men and you cannot meet those standards on your own. Yeah.
But how did that become so popular? Social media?
Social media and most women, like I've said, they live in a bubble and a cocoon. And some of these women that are very outspoken and they are role models, they assuage that cocoon and massage some of this fickle-mindedness that has engulfed young women. And they tend to gel more with that sojourn of thought than probably what Aoko would say.
Would you say that is just something that there's a gap, like young women treasure that, or do you think it has spread out to also the middle-aged women in our society?
Actually, it's young women. And if you look at the current trajectories, young men are just going for the older women. Right? Because the older woman has been there, done that, is not going to put all these demands on you. I'm not going to ask you for money for Peruvian hair and mascara and this and that and all this and all that, and then there's Brayowa salon, and then there's this Kamawa rent, and then there's all it's a messed up dating scene.
I heard you
Yes,
once
it is.
say somewhere that the difference between some ladies who engage in the twilight ladies, it's just where they ply their trade.
Actually, social media has become the new brothel.
The adults in the room. My name is Emmanuel. I'm in studio with Eric and Barbara. Today we have a special guest in the building, Aoko Otieno. I had you saying, Aoko, I had you saying that you don't use caffeine much lately.
Yeah. I decided to ghettoize the name Scoffin.
All right.
Yeah, because it's I view myself as a budding Pan-Africanist, a woman who's finding her roots. And the name Aoko Otieno gels more with my newfound identity.
Well, wait, Google.
Now that I am emancipated.
Yeah. And we're just, not yet there. We have 1 hour and 10 minutes with this special guest of ours. What's the feedback looking like, Eric?
Indeed, I see a lot of feedback. There is a gentleman there, his name is Eric Mutunga, who says, enyewe hii mbogi inaweza. But where on earth will the so-called equality happen when men are busy hustling? With some, our sisters wake up, clock in on social media for likes and petty comments. Anyway, equality and will still remain. Eric Mutunga umekanganya. Sasa sungeandika vizuri edit ndio utumia adults jamani. Sasa nasoma inanipatia kiwewe. Tuende pale juu. Barbara, please scroll a little bit. There's a message I saw about Aoko. No, the other way as you are going. Just to the very top. Thanks Aoko for pushing women to do more and to be more. Nice show. Wow. Very sky-high insight from you, Aoko Nyamenua. Very impressive. Somebody from Migori, Barbara, was asking for the frequency. You give it to them.
Yes, I have.
And also frequency ya Chuka ama Meru, please. Huyu ni jamaa anaitwa God's Child. Anasema nataka kusikiza Aoko sana. Love the way Aoko articulates issues. Let's meet each other halfway. No simping. That is Maina Waweru. Weekly for Dongo says, I'm deeply sapping every Barbara. Do you want to remove it for a minute as I'm reading? I'm deeply sapping every drop of the jam today. It's really, really hot. I like the show. What do we have online, Barbara, on the short code? Remember, you can share your feedback on the short code. 40127 is a short code. I'm comprehending nothing. What are you discussing?
Kizungu imekuwa ngumu.
Madhare, no.
Aoko amekanganya some of my listeners.
Make it easier for me, Eric.
Yes.
Sasa, ndugu yangu, venye tutafanya baada ya hii mzungumzo mimi nitakupigia alafu to break down pole pole. Unajua madam ametoka Migori bana. Alimuonyo encyclopedia. Muonyo is the Greek word for kumeza.
She's removing bombastic words for my listeners.
Kipruto says he's listening from Bomet. How are you guys doing? It's nice to hear from you again. Thanks to God. I think gender equality is the key to everything. Cool. Thank you so much, Kipruto. Please, as Kipruto, as Wycliffe, as who is that, Omondi Gabriel, so can you share your feedback? Just sign on onto any of your social media handles and give us a follow while at it. Our page and handle remains the same at Spice FM KE at the tail end in caps. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. If you're not so much keen on social media, you could just send us a text on your phone right about now and share your questions or comments to Aoko. She's in the studio until 10 o'clock. Also, from around 9, we'll be picking your phone calls live. If you don't have our number, it's your first time perhaps, 071901 2600.
Yes, you got it.
0719012600 is the number. Please save it and give us a call. You can actually call in and just talk to Aoko. Even if you feel like your feminism has tortured kabisa and you want to just square it mano a mano, you could just call in and then have a conversation with Aoko Baba.
Yes, and also if you can remember, please send in your questions through all our social media platforms. That is Spice FM KE on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. And also the SMS code is 40127.
Aoko, we were talking about social media a moment ago, and we have a couple of minutes before the top of the hour. Maybe you can get back into that. You're saying that social media is for some people, and I'm the one who's cleaning it up, like a new brothel.
Yeah, social media has become the unconventional brothel.
How is that?
For this new generation. That is why they purvey their goods. Yeah, they take photos, they're with no shame, like I say, typically poorly raised tats, and they purvey their goodies. I often tell women, You'll do that, and a feminist will tell you you're embracing your sexuality. Fine and good, but I always say that as a young woman, or as a woman, or as a human being, you pervade the most salient feature in you. So if your nudity is the most salient feature in you, that is what you're going to show the world. But if your talent, if your intellect, if your capabilities and abilities that are on your neck upwards, your business acumen is what is the most salient feature in you, that is what you're going to show the world. Exactly.
You know, Eric, if you want to have mega followers in this day and age, just take a photo with, huge makalio. Alafu una post.
You know, you're right.
Out and naked.
Yesterday, Barbara, I've not been on Instagram for a while, so I went to peep and see what's up. So I went to the explore section, and the first maybe 20 pictures were of random women who have voluptuous dancing. So they set the camera on real time, turn around, and then they gyrate. Just quietly. And I was just like, wow, all right. For like maybe 30, 40 seconds.
And they get like...
Then if you click on it, you see hundreds of different twerking positions. So they twerk in different dresses, and I guess... But they leave an email there, so maybe they also have a business
and I
argument.
say if women take that trajectory, then they have absolutely no business screaming and screeching about patriarchy. Because in a society like ours, and we ape the Western world so much, in a society like ours, of course, it's almost nada that you'll find men doing that, right? And as long as men are still going to keep their nudity to themselves and have some level of self-respect and self-discipline, they're still going to lead you. Yeah, and patriarchy is still going to reign. Yeah, and even in the parlance of politics, they often say that if you look at the facts and figures, and you can go and do this research, in 2017, 13,000 men vied for different positions.
Yes.
Do you know how many women vied? You're talking about just putting their candidature out there. You're not talking about the campaigns and everything. Just, I want to vie. 13,000 men versus 1,200 women. How then do you sit and tell us about women not having voices in politics? How?
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
How? And these are the facts
We're
and
not trying.
Yes, we are not aggressive. And we'll talk about bottlenecks like finances and all that, and we talk about the political parties and everything. But I remember there's this MP from, I don't know, it's Meru, who campaigned with his sweater was his trademark,
Yes.
right?
The young man.
Yes, the young man. He had nothing, but he had ability to mobilize people at the grassroots. He had political acumen. These are the things that I talk about. Women do not have political acumen.
Aoko, hold that thought. So you're going to dig deeper into that when we come back. Aoko, I'm always stopping you when you're in the middle of a very deep thing. But just hold that thought. We are the adults in the room. It's about that time for us to hit the top of the hour. And we're going to open the phone lines, the calls shortly. 0719012600 is the number. We're talking feminism et al. And if you want to call, now is the time. You've just joined us. Karibu. Where have you been, man? We have a fire guest right here in the studio. Aoko Tieno is here in the flesh, and we're discussing feminism, Miss Andri, and ideas about ways to achieve equality. And the conversation is just taking a life of its own. And Aoko, just before we went on the break, you were giving us a story about political acumen, and I just want to let you continue just from where you left off.
Like I was saying, there was a research that was done that found out that in the 2017 general elections, actually 13,000 men vied for different positions. You're talking right from the MCA right to the presidency, vis-a-vis 1,200 women only who just put out their candidature out there. That number is confounding. It's flummoxing. Like, if it was around 5,000 here, then we'll know where to begin this discourse. 13,000 versus 1,200. Just willing to put your name out there. We're not talking about the intricacies and the hula baloo that surrounds a person vying with a man or woman. We have the political parties issue, the finances and all that, the IBC and all that, And I that validates the fact that this all screaming from women is often pegged on sentimentalism and whims. The moment women start interrogating logic and facts and figures and insight, then probably we can have a discourse that can be able to bridge this gap. Because when they look at these figures, they start blaming men, but they are not aggressive enough. You see, and when you're talking, when often they bring about the bottlenecks, which yes, has some validity, but at the same time, they can be, they can be broken. For instance, finances. I've given the example of that young MP from Nyeri who just had his sweater. He had nada finances, but he was able to mobilize people at the grassroots and just table his manifesto and reach out to people and tell the people, this is what I have. Right? Women always bring about issues like marriage. Charity Ngilo was widowed, I can't remember how long ago. Was elected as a governor. The Kirinyaga woman rep was married actually a year after she was elected. Millie Odhiambo is married in Zimbabwe. Was elected at her home area, and if there's one of the societies, the so-called chauvinistic, is the Luo, where I come from. But they elected Millie because he had what it takes. And that is the kind of aggressiveness that I expect from women. You cannot sit down and get nominations at hotel rooms and start crying that women do not have voices in politics. How? When you're not aggressive enough. And why? And that I say, somebody asked me, why do you always say women? Are you not a woman? Because I want to remove myself from my generation of women, right? And just remove myself from this cocoon, because I've been able to remove myself from this bubble that we have engulfed ourselves. That is why I can see things from a different perspective that they are unable to see.
Do you think in regard to politics, it's like the hurdles are harder, and that explains why maybe
that is why I ask how? I have said things like finances. There are men who have made it without finances, and if anything, if there are people, a gender is able to rally money, it's the women, right? You can give a woman 500, you can give a man 500 shillings, and what he thinks of is 2 beers, 3 beers, and nyama choma. You give a woman 500 shillings, and she's able to think very fast. I need like 2 packets of unga and all this, and that is why the kamweredhos and chamas of women thrive. Why aren't women able to rally finances, identify a competent candidate who is able to elucidate the issues that you think are in tandem with the needs of the women, and rally your finances around these women? Why are women rallying their finances and their votes to the man? The women should ask themselves that question. And instead of
Aoko for women rep.
because because women vote for men, right? Why don't women ask themselves why women rally themselves and their votes and whatever in cash and kind towards male candidates as opposed to women candidates?
So you think they've made a mountain of a molehill, like they focus on the negative so much that it gives you a mind block, so you don't pursue some of these things that you're talking about?
Actually, it's the mind block part that I think, stands out. Yeah, like I said, women tend to focus more on sentimentalism and whims and emotions rather than logic and insight and intellect.
The man. Aoko, talking about different perspective, I have come across some of your material. What are your thoughts on polygamy? Because it's very different on what most women would agree.
I am pro-polygamy, and it's not necessarily because I come from a polygamous family. My dad is polygamous, and I often say I'm blessed to have 2 mothers. And I say his relationship with my mothers, that is, he's a man. My often worry is, was he a good father? He's a fantastic... Look at how I hail men. Hey. It's because... Yes. And I, at the same time, I don't think I put down women. It's just I tell them things that they do not want to hear, that they need to hear, but they do not want to hear. So I have a fantastic father. I am the firstborn, and my mother is the first wife. Somebody will think, probably because your mother is the second. No, my mom is the first wife. Right? And I say how a man handles, it boils down to how a man handles his wives. And what is more important to me as a person is, because he is not my husband, He's my father, and he's a fantastic father to both the kids from the two houses, and that is what is important. And number two, there's not that we are in 2020, and married men are afraid of being polygamous in 2020 because the current crop of women are vicious. Utasiagiwa still within 3 months uko hospitali ujui kitu imekugonjesha,
kidney failure,
hizo tu. They were not like our mothers, because our mothers realized that these things are not kidneys, bana, they can be shared. And sharing is caring. Because at the end of the day, atu kimkazia, at the end of the day, men are hunters. It's intrinsic, it's inherent, and I say I'm a very pragmatic person.
But don't you think there's a difference between polygamy and cheating?
Let me tell you, 90% of these men who cheat, given a chance, they'll marry these women and just have other women, long-term women, because cheating is even more expensive, right? You know, by the way, if you're married, the kind of responsibilities you're married. If you're married, I think by the time she was your girlfriend, I think the kind of responsibilities and her mindset was different when you make her your wife than when you make her your wife. Some of these so-called standards, they thought once you make that woman your wife.
That's true.
Yeah. So if anything, cheating is even more expensive. So
just
because
marry them.
Why not? Because it's even better. This one will know kama uko hapa itatusave hizi ugonjwa mingi and hizi stress mingi and everything, and everyone will be happy, because sometimes some of these women, by the way, actually, you know, especially if he's a man mwenye anasumbua, you know, hii wiki mbili wata ende asumbuane huko upumzike kidogo. What's wrong with that? And actually, the society, days when society embraced polygamy, there was some hii kichwa ngumu mingi wanawake wako nayo siku hizi. It's because of this leeway that modernity has given them, and the so-called Christianity and all these things.
But if you're giving them polygamy, some women will argue that, what about polyandry?
Why? It's a very tired, but it still makes sense to me. Like, it's always that it's one padlock, one key that can open like 2-3 padlocks. It's not the other way around. Yeah, and it also boils down to the fact that men, you know, these are kind of what I said. The kind of competition that feminism is trying to purvey out there. That if a man can do this, then a woman can do it. Will never happen. I give an example. Some of these feminists too do not eschew men. The sexual tools that they use are shaped as men sexual organs. Why are they not using sexual tools that are shaped like balls or that TV? Yeah, at the end of the day, patriarchy still rules, man. Whether you like it or not.
Emmanuel is so happy.
Yes.
Statement.
The tarimbo is needed
Yes.
in the right specifications.
It cannot. We can't change the specs.
Do you think like there'll be a time, especially in this era, when a man can speak out against some of these things the way you do?
I hope they do. Right? Because somebody told me that the men are hiding behind your skirt, Aoko.
I could also say the same, because they feel that you will voice it for them, and if they were to do it,
because the
people will
society
attack them.
Yes, because the way the society has muzzled the voices of men. You cannot speak out against some of these issues or for some of these issues without being tagged as a CC, you know, you just whining, be a man. You know, they often tag that they throw at men, be a man. You know, and once you hear that, and especially some of this confrontation, they are confrontation with women. And men have been socialized not to have especially public confrontation with women. Now what to do?
You know, Eric, I was discussing with a buddy of mine today in the morning. He was telling me, and he didn't know we were going to have this conversation. I just listened to him. He was telling me that in his observation, if you want to get funding for a project, just come up with a project, you know, that targets ladies. If you want, if you come up with, we were laughing about it, but he was saying if you come up with a project, say you want to do a certain thing for boys, he was laughing and saying those guys are going to just throw you out of that boardroom. But if you come up with a project that I want to do X, Y, and Z for ladies, the funding comes out really, really fast. And you know, I had some truth in that because you know, I don't hear a lot about projects, you know, targeting. Maybe there are, but I don't hear a lot about it.
Yeah, there seem to be a lot of emphasis laid on women than men, but part to blame because men are not talking. Like, look now, you can see online a lot of men are championing some of the sentiments Aoko is sharing very boldly. She's come out to share her feelings authentically. So then what happens to a man? I wish men then would also take up the baton and just come forward and say, you know what, tunakandamizwa.
There used to be this guy for Maendeleo or Naomi.
Alipigwa sana.
Yeah.
There's a day I saw a goat
And that's why I
chasing after
say
him.
some of these things like affirmative action, they're just reverse sexism. Because some of these we have, like, is it 11th October, the day of the girl child or something? Do we have the day of the boy child? Do we? We have Women's Day. And even if you look at Father's Day, probably it's not accentuated, even in the media.
We have
And then
Men's Day, but
celebrated.
it's also celebrated as Toilets Day, as the same.
You see, and some of these like you're saying the maendeleo of wanaume, they do not go far, and there's this myopia that they call believe women. Right? It's some of these tags attached to this movement. I say right now, feminism, it's not an ideology anymore. It's just a movement, a very fickle movement that right now is just being chaperoned by, destitutes of logic. I call them dullards. So, excuse me.
Sorry.
You have these movements like I was saying, this tag, Believe Women, so much so the other day I saw a comedian online who was assaulted by the girlfriend. But it took him time until probably his gigs were dwindling because now corporates and all that were not willing to associate with the woman's beater. So the guy came out crying on his social media handles, ni mimi nilipigwa jameni, right? At the moment the girlfriend said that that guy has assaulted her,
They're believed.
they are believed. Right now, that thing, I always say, don't believe a man, don't believe a woman, believe facts. Believe evidence, right? Because we are in society where a woman is so empowered that they've now turned empowerment they have weaponized empowerment, actually. Women have weaponized empowerment. That's why we have the Me Too things, say things. Right now, you can't even compliment a woman. Tell a woman she's hot. That is sexual what? Women, there are days when women enjoyed compliments. There's no line anymore between what is compliment, because you'll think you're complimenting a woman. The next thing you know, you'll be served. Because probably you've verbally or sexually, and it was just a compliment. Because they have weaponized empowerment.
We're going to get deeper into that when we come back. Some John Legend on the playlist. And guess what? I'm going to open up the phone lines. In fact, Barbara, let me just put up the volume of the phones. 07190120600 is the number. If you want to talk to this lady who's made some time to hang out with us. Now is the time. We are the adults in the room. I'm hanging out in studio with Barbara and Eric. And we have a special guest in the building. Aoko Tieno is here. And guess what? We only have 40 minutes with her, and we're going to make the most of this time. Anything happening online, Barbara?
Isaac Aoko says, Aoko, thanks for your holistic approach to this whole debate of gender antagonism. I don't know if you realize, but can I say, bravo, Aoko, and thumbs up.
You.
We have Kevin Santana says, the current crop of feminists crave power and control. They envy men. Women like Gina Haspel are their role models.
I concur.
Eric, can you see anything?
Oh, yes, indeed. Please remember that we have a shortcode for you. If you haven't already and you want to use that, it's available just for you. It's 40127. You can shoot us a text right through. And myself, Emmanuel, and Barbara will have a read at what your thoughts are. We are right in the midst of a fairly interesting conversation and an educative one, if you may also want to add. We are discussing feminism, misandry, and ideas about ways, if at all, we could achieve equality. 40127 SMS code. Nyeri Kamau from Tuapa says she's locked in with her dictionary. She says that Aoko and Dr. PLO Lumumba should be on the same WhatsApp group, and ends by saying thumbs up. Mambo, Eric, Barbara, and Emmanuel. Salamia Aoko, Vanessa from Kisumu. I'm shouting out Malachi. Or is it Malachi?
Malachi.
Malachi. All right. You never know how to pronounce these things sometimes. My name is Tom Kayugira from Kitale. And for sure, I've never had an interview on radio of a lady of such unbiased feminist opinion as Miss Aoko Otieno. Thank you so much, Tom Kagura. Aoko amepokea salamu. Eric, Emmanuel, and Duchess, and Aoko. It's Jack, tuned in from Kiambu. I am taking notes.
So, Aoko, we were in the middle of something as usual, and I interrupted. It's becoming something which is normal.
Yeah, like I was saying, empowerment is basically reversed sexism. It has morphed into reverse sexism, and women have weaponized empowerment, and they're bringing tags like Me Too and Believe Women, and these tags basically seen men go to prison for we have an example of those two rugby guys that were convicted without bail, and they were released on bail the other day. Yeah, we have that Machako's dad whose daughter actually had to confess after he had served a while in prison that it's the mother who told her to say those things about the father and accuse the father of having defiled her, and it's not. And what pains me sometimes is some of these, in our judiciary, some of these magistrates and judges that are feminists, so they really probably make judgments out of emotions, right? And it's hurting our relationship. I feel this thing is hurting our relationship with men because we need each other. There's no way you can say women can exist without men and men can exist without women. We need each other, and we need to acknowledge that we have different needs, we have different roles to play, not just needs. And why don't we embrace our roles and devoid of this, juvenile and very, silly competition that we've brought on board. Like somebody has said, feminism right now is just basically women competing with men, and it's futile. Yeah, and what you now see is just a crop of very angry and ignorant women who, if you look actually, don't want to name names, but I know when I say this, you have a mental picture of the feminists that we have, very loud, conspicuous feminists that we have in Kenya, especially on social media. They are single women, cougars. Yes, we have serious spinsters there who probably have turned into feminism out of bitter experiences. They're not feminists because they understand the core tenets of feminism. Like I've said, I've engaged some of them in arguments on Twitter, and you ask them who Lucretia Mott is, and the Seneca Convention, and what feminism is all about. They don't. It's just about lying and misguiding young women and making men feel like they are the worst thing that ever existed. Save for Corona.
But there's been some good from the Me Too movement. Don't you think it's just a few elements just trying to use that and weaponize it, as you're saying?
No. Even if where it started, especially that guy, up to now is the evidence. They're just speculations. The speculations, and it riles me that the modern woman, especially the African, let me use the word African woman and Kenyan woman, has swallowed the Western mind or the Western woman's mentality, hook, line, and sinker. And you're talking about beauty standards. You're talking about the way they think, the way they want to relate with men and all that. And it's counterproductive. It's going to backfire big time. Yeah, big time. Because now even our beauty standards and even this nudity, because you see the Western world, it's okay. That is their world. This is our society, and there's a reason why that's their society. And it's not like everything about the Western world just ape what is productive, right? This English that you're spitting here, it's not ours, it's theirs, right? Just pick what's productive, and shun what's unhealthy. And what's at the end, I say most of us as women, we are very myopic. We look at the now. Right now, you're going to post that picture, you're naked, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. But 10, 30 years down the line, what kind of woman would you want to be? Would you look back and be proud of the things you used to do and the standards they used to set? And what happened to what happened to the confidence of an African woman, an authentic African who was proud of her melanin skin, who was proud of her beauty? Right now, I'm very sure there are women who cannot go to the shops without foundation. Yeah, it's that bad.
You know, Aoko, you've said something very important earlier. You said that we need each other, and I agree to that 100%. Men as women need each other, and we have to coexist, you know. It is tough sometimes because of our obvious differences, but we have to just find a way and coexist. Just to take a different tangent a little bit, what is the best relationship advice you've given or ever received?
That I have received, and probably I have lived, and I have seen it work, and that I always give out back, is focus on the virtues and values and character of someone. Some of these things that we look at are very transient, right? And I say some of the women who are single are not single because they are not men. Kama kuna kitu rahisi kupata ni mwanaume.
Hey.
Absolutely. It's because of the fake standards. If you remove the men who are queer, right? Remove the men who are gay, because you'll tell me, men are like, we are half-half. But in that half of men, like 44% of the total male population in Kenya are in prison. Remove the ones who are in prison, remove the ones who are queer, remove the ones who are probably
Married.
Marriage is not an issue.
Oh, so we are okay. Continue, my darling.
Yes. And those who probably are thieves and, just bad character. Yes. You remain with this clique. And in this clique, now you want to be silly. There's a very thin line between being silly and having standards. You want tall, dark, like this. If you get a good guy and is just slightly below your shoulder, grab that guy like the world is going to end the next minute. Because you're going
to... There are no standards.
Let your standards be pragmatic. If you find a guy who has virtues and values and communicates and respects you, right? And treats you right, and these fundamental and important aspects of what makes a man a man. Now you're going to shun this man because probably his shoe doesn't match his belt. How? And then when you start shunning good men because of flimsy reasons like that, you reach to 35, you find that you're single, that guy is already taken, you become bitter and you morph into a feminist. Yes.
Very, very interesting stuff. So in regards to ambitions and aspirations, what do you say to that? What do you say to a woman who says that I want my children to look some type of way and a particular height because I'm given to basketball, so I would not date a very short guy?
Eric, you're going to ask that question again.
Yeah, no, she's hard. She'll just answer when we come back.
Yes, she will. I'm doing what I do normally when Aoko is here. I interrupt her. But it is 30 minutes past 9 o'clock. We're hanging out with Aoko right here in the studio. And Aoko Tino, actually. And we're discussing feminism. If you've just joined us, where were you, man? But remember, we're going to put up this whole conversation on YouTube, and you can catch it and enjoy it. Or if you want to watch it again, you'll be free to do so on those internet streets. I'm seeing a lot of feedback online, even on my own timeline. People are just enjoying the show. Sami Kirumbo says, Aoko makes me belittle my English teacher, Malanga Suleiman, a big friend of this show, says, Aoko, I love your talk. Unaumiza watu na ukweli. And a lot of people are just, commenting and loving the show. Thank you so much. Keep sending in your feedback. We're going to get into it as we go along. But Eric, I just want us to dive back into the conversation, at least for now. Kindly, Eric, repeat your question, just in case someone...
No, we were right in the heart of it. If you're joining us, Karibu Sana, Aoko was explaining the frivolous ambitions that she reckons a lot of women might have in useless materialism, not to use her words, but she was just reckoning that a lot of women are given to useless materialism and all these other things she was saying. But then I was asking, as a rejoinder to that question, that what her views are about personal preferences, aspirations, dreams. Would you say somebody is unwise for having opted out of someone because of their ambition for someone better?
Better in what context? Because if we're talking better, like I've elucidated in terms of character and virtues and values, which are, the core ideals that should guide and ground a relationship, then I would understand. But it's like trivial and fickle things like you want basketball height. They call it American height or something. Then the people who have that kind of height are probably just 6 or 10% of the population, most of whom are already taken. Yeah, so it's either you're content with the polygamy that I'm preaching about, or you're going to end up single and miserable and calling your pets sweetie at 40.
But a woman can argue and say that if I can find a very nice, short, stout man who has good character traits and who has good virtues, surely maybe I could try and wait a little longer to find one who's tall with good virtues.
Yes, but then we are looking at proportionality. What is the number of the stout versus the American height? Yes.
No, you're right. In fact, somebody the other day was telling me, Kisangani, that, was it Austin, one of my colleagues, that 6.6 feet one men are just, maybe, was it 3% in the world? Something interesting like that. And I was just like, what? Yeah, so globally... So
it's a very narrow... It's a niche.
It's a niche. It's a niche height, man. So if you're above 6'1", you are in that minority.
Aoko, I've listening to you. I actually like some of the things you're propagating, and especially for the young ladies, if they could actually hear you out. But my question would be, would it be okay for you to try reach them out in a different tone or tonality? Because to be very honest, a lot of people find you, and now I'm sitting next to you and I'm like, I think seeing you is giving me a different perception from what I could see online, because sometimes you judge people from online. Don't you think if you want to reach out and pass this message, because you actually have a good message, you could try and package it differently? In the sense of you don't need to look like you're rebuking women or you're putting them down, because you actually have a very good message. What are your thoughts on that? If you're to tone down and not use maybe derogatory language, or the way you're saying lambasting and all those big words, bombastic.
Oh goodness. If they feel, number one, in the context of big words, then the onus is on them to upgrade their vocabulary. This time that they're using to follow on gossip, let them read and have intercourse with books and get some of, having intercourse with people is like the best thing God created. But I'm just saying, the way you can have intercourse with a person, have intercourse with the book and savor a book, right? And if you get a word that you're not familiar with, then search for that word. That's why I said it's a discourse. It's an intercourse. Get to explore some of the materials that excite women. And these are materials that are never going to get some of these words that they call big grammar. This simplistic meals and boons nonsense, Yeah, so those are fine, but get to challenge yourself. This is what I tell women. Never be afraid of challenges. And whether you're talking about from the intellectual perspective, whether you're talking about business and politics, from being an all-round kind of woman.
Do you find, because I've heard you talking about ladies and encouraging them to read, and today we're having a conversation about just meeting a lady who can hold their own in regard to a conversation. So you can have deep convos on things that are happening on planet Earth. So is the problem across the board? Like even guys, it's hard to find even a guy to have an in-depth conversation with. Because I feel most people just read, posts, tweets and stuff like that. So is it a problem across the board, or what do you think about that?
I'm going to answer you in a moment.
Yes.
Let me finish with Barbara.
Oh, okay.
I'm also a very huge proponent of free speech, right? And I say, and I often reiterate that free speech is the mechanism that drives a functioning society. And like very great man, a psychologist that is one of the people that I actually listen a lot to is
Jordan
Dr.
Peterson.
Yes, he says that when you're a free thinker, then you're bound to be offensive. Right. So I'm a free thinker who believes in free expression and free speech. And like I've said, my modus, it's not going to change. I'm not going to turn down. And yes, I am rebuking women. I'm not putting down women. I am giving women facts. And I always challenge them. Challenge my school of thought with logic rather than sentimentalism. If I say this, then don't come, you're rebuking women, you're this, start describing my face and all this, and start asking me if I'm married and all. And that's why I say most women are destitute of intellect, even in the way they argue. You bring some of these things, and instead of somebody counter-challenging you with facts, they bring whims and emotions and insults.
Personal.
Right. And like I've said, I'm not going to use the same operandi that feminists are using to assuage their lousy egos. I'm going to poke holes into their school of thought, and this is what I believe is going to yield results either way, right? And what you're saying, I think in some way it's both way, but it's more profound in women, because go to all of you are here on social media. Go to a tweet or a post on Facebook or on Twitter that an intellectual, a public intellectual, is having a discourse online on any topic. Get the first 10 comments. From what gender? Do it right now. Research right now. Here. First 10 comments, you're going to get them from what gender? The men.
Gender.
Go to a gossip. Whether this person, like where we're having this DJ, has done what with the wife. The first 10 comments.
Ladies.
Thank you. That answers your question?
It does, man.
Leo anaenda kujipiga mbaya. There's a gentleman here called Victor Muga. If we have some time, you'll answer his question, Aoko. He's saying, please ask Aoko our opinion about independent women mentality. Maybe we could expound that for a minute. I can paint my house, buy my food, I have a car, I have a table. What are you bringing on the table? Woman, she can fix it all. So I think Muga is just saying, what are your thoughts about independent woman mentality?
It's a very profound thing for a woman to be independent. That is what I advocate for. We are not handicapped. Like I've said, we have the wherewithal to do a lot of things. And if a man brings the baton, why don't you bring the baton? And if he can bring his 50 bob, your 10 bob is very good. It gives you a voice. In a relationship, in a marriage, in whatever partnership, the little you have, it makes you grounded as a woman. And in case of anything, because some of these relationships, even marriages, in modern marriages, the modern nuances of marriages have made it so transient. There's very little guarantee.
Also, men die.
Yes.
Earlier than women.
Yes,
Really
actually. Yeah, and even when you look at suicide rates, it's men who commit suicide. Actually, there are facts. The facts and figures elucidate that yearly 317 yearly Kenyans commit suicide, out of which 221 men. The remaining just about 17 or 20 are women. So these are some of the figures that make me speak out for men. And so it's good to be independent. What happens sometimes and most times is when a woman is independent, they don't see a man as a partner. A man starts to become inferior. And it's a very sad state of affairs. And there's no way a woman can claim that because now she can afford a mortgage and buy her own house and buy a car and she can butter her own bread, then she does not need a man. Men are not like things that come in to buy you a house, so that now that you have a house you don't need a man, or to buy you a car, or to fix your bulb, and now that you can do all those things, then you don't need a man. Men and women are essentially for companionship, and every human being needs a companion. They are for companionship, and there are very many reasons why we need each other, especially in the context of marriage, and it's what makes a society grounded and gives society some form of discipline and equilibrium. I wish women would understand that.
We're out with Aoko Otieno, and time is doing the thing that it does to us every single day when we're having a very good conversation right here in this studio. And guess what? We have conversations like this every single weeknight from 7 o'clock all the way till 10. This is the home of authentic conversation, and that's what we're up to tonight.
Gentleman here, I want you to read his comment. Team Bilal.
Absolutely. If you're joining us, we've been hanging out with one Aoko Otieno, who's graced us with our presence, and we've been discussing feminism, misandry, and ideas about ways, if at all, men and women can achieve equality. So you're not late to the party. It's been going on, and it will go on even after. There's a gentleman on Twitter, as you can be on Twitter as well, and Facebook and Instagram, sharing your feedback. But Timi Bilal on Facebook, I beg your pardon, says, I definitely support Aoko. Eric, please tell Aoko ni yeye atafungua mkutano na maombi pale men's conference. She will be the only woman atakubaliwa kuingia kwa conference. Nimemwambia.
I've been trying to get wameninyima hata kwa imeza.
Sasa Aoko ni hataomba na kwanza akae hapo mbele, si ndio?
Hiyo ya Lesotho ama ya hapa Kenya.
Tutachukua zote, tikiti tutampea zote.
This
message has to go globally. Hiyo sio message ya locally peke yake. Barbara, please go to the SMS short code. Please remember also that we have a short code just for you. 40127 is our short code. You could share your views and feedback through your phone at the comfort of your pillow. So you don't even need to go and log on to Facebook for now. You just shoot your text and then you continue listening to the radio. Aoko, please research more on men cheating and polygamy. I am doubtful men in polygamy don't cheat. That is Pam from Kisumu.
I am doubtful, which means she's not giving me facts and figures. I was hoping to hear I've researched and this is my facts and figures. Like I say, whims and sentimentalism.
All right, Pam umepashwa. Carlos from Kilifi, is Aoko religious?
Absolutely
right.
not.
She's
you're not religious?
Absolutely not. Like Marx poignantly pointed that it's the opium of the masses. I absolutely would rather be inebriated with knowledge than religion.
We need another day for Aoko to come to ongea your story.
Amejibu. Hi adults, I'm also tuned in with my dictionary. Today's guest are Cheki. You didn't share your name, thank you so much. Tom Mathare North, I have gathered the term weaponization. Asante Tom. Tunaenda tukiendaga Buda. Pole tu. Weaponization imeingia ndi. Sasa tutaendelea tukienda. Emmanuel, umeshika kitu hapo kweli. Naona tuko ligi moja. Sijui Emmanuel ulishika nini. Ni kiti, I think. I think he's talking about the picture. You know the picture on social media? I suspect it's that. But my brother, you can clarify. This is Jack from Kisumu City in Awasi. Aoko, you're real and I love your teachings, he says. Thank you so much. Please keep all of your thoughts coming and questions at all if you want. And also we have such few minutes. Would you think we can get a call at all? No?
I don't think so. So, no, we only have.
You really want to absorb everything from this lady?
No,
she's going to plug in. Allow her to plug in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Aoko will be back, another time. We had so much to say. I think we were excited. But Aoko, just to wrap up this conversation, we only have 4 minutes. I heard you say on another platform that back in the day, you had someone pay for you your school fees for certain reasons. So looking back, do you think that is something you wouldn't do, especially now with your message for ladies just to sort of find their own way so that nobody has a gun on you at nilikufanyia hivi ama nilikufanyia vile?
Did you watch the interview?
Yes, I did.
Actually, I just said they topped up. I pay my own fee, and if this is one of the things I want to let a man do, is probably pay my fee, unless we at some point and it's from out of his own volition, out of his own chivalry, ndio tusikuje kusumbuana hapo mbele.
So isikuwe ati ni deni.
Yeah, isikuwe ni deni. If he feels our relationship is grounded enough and we can invest that much in each other, then I am good to go. And like I mentioned, it was top up, and I did not say give me as a module to students, I go with units, and I picked less units, and I realized in the middle of conversation, why are you not going for exams? Say I've paid for less units. Why? Because I did not have enough money for all the 7 units, and he offered to top up. And it's only that I did not say what I also did, but I also hold my end of the bargain in every relationship. Yeah.
But
and that's why I think probably no man has come out, dem anapiganga tu kelele, but even them not, because man, I practice what I preach. Yeah.
So what would be your parting shot, at least for today's show, to the people who are listening, because there are many?
Feminism is the most profound form of brainwashing ever. That's why I say every single woman and their sympathizers of men who probably think being pro-feminine is the best way to ask for what. It's counterproductive. It's not helping women. It has not helped women. It has actually severed our relationship with men. It's hurting our relationship with men. And as women, we need to go back to the drawing board and re-evaluate ourselves and realize that we have so much potential as women, and we can bring much more to the table than being the object that the so-called feminism makes us to be. And in terms of equality, there's nothing like equality. Equality is utopia. What we should angle for is equity. We are different. We should stop this unhealthy competition. Men can never be women. Women can never be men. And let us just realize that as human beings, we need each other. And if we are going to speak for the ills that are bedeviling the women, let us also speak for the ills that are bedeviling the men as a society, if we are to move forward in a constructive and conclusive manner. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. I hope you're going to come again.
Absolutely.
We are going to be, we just want to thank Aoko once again for coming through on behalf of Eric and Barbara too. And obviously Mumbi, our super duper producer. Tunasema asante sana. Thank you for making the time. The show is going to be on YouTube, I think, by tomorrow. Remember also tomorrow at 6 a.m. The Situation Room. We're going to be here from 6 to 10, 3 to 7 o'clock, Spice Drive with Monique. And then 7 o'clock all the way till 10. We're going to have, 7 o'clock to 10, we're going to be back here for another show. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Remember, music on all night long. You don't have to touch that dial.
Spice FM.